Hey, beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. I'm Joanne Hughes. I'm an intuitive lifestyle strategist. And today I am talking about my book that just was released called The Manifesto Harnessing the Power of the Sorceress. Really excited about this book, but it is all really in divine synchronistic timing for me and for right now because we just went through the full moon and it was a super moon, and we are in the period of Leo, and the Lionsgate portal has opened up, and I have a masterclass coming out on Tuesday, which is 8/8, the most powerful time of this portal opening here. And so I just, there's a few things I want to talk about around all of this, but it's just such an amazing time right now. And if you're anything like me, the full moons really do affect me. This one more so than just any regular full moon. And it is because of it being a super moon and in Leo and the Lionsgate portal. There's just really so much energy that, you know, for myself, it's been hard to go to sleep the past few nights. Go to sleep late because I can't sleep, and then I'm waking up really early, like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. And, just my energy feels so heavy, and I feel more tired with this full moon rather than energetic. Like sometimes I'm more energetic with the full moon. So my head seems really heavy. There's just so much energy right now on the planet, and I'm really picking up on that. Not to mention the day after the full moon, I had what I call a download. Some people might call them a channeling, but I call them downloads. And so there's just been so much of that going on. And I knew I had to do this video today and talk about the channel and talk about a bit about the book, because it's so funny how things just happen in this divine order, and there's so many synchronicities happening around us if we really pay attention to it. So that's what definitely wanted to bring to you this download that I had. So um, the download that I had really was talking about merging the wounded child with the adult. And it wasn't just that. It really is, when I get a download, it's like a whole book or a whole program. It's like this a whole huge piece of information that gets downloaded. And this one, I do recognize that I did have a download about this years ago. And, for some reason, I just wasn't in that space of really doing anything with it or processing it. And this time, I did take a day to kind of process it more so than other times, because, again, it was so much energy coming into me that it again, it's affecting me, and the fatigue and the heaviness and the headaches and all of this stuff that make it sometimes really hard to sit down and be able to write out exactly what the download was about. But oftentimes I don't need to write it out. So I want to tell you about two things. One is a chapter in the book, and the manifesto, I wrote it to be more of like a really easy read. It is small, bite-sized chapters, so that it's something that you can read really quickly and kind of work through it as well. And it's stuff that you can really incorporate into your life and really digest and process quite easily. And it's particularly made that way for a reason. And unfortunately, this download is not in the book, but I will be updating. And this is the first edition that came out, and there'll be another edition down the road to add this one to it. So with the download, it was a really interesting thing because I have one of the chapters in my book is called the Evolve Method. Now, the Evolve Method is a process that I have implemented and created to be able to deal with stored trauma, stagnant and stored energy in the body, and dis-ease in the body, and physical symptoms that have manifested as a result to that. There's so many moving parts of this book, and the process of taking you from, having this foundation of looking at the pieces that just hopefully stimulate and inspire you to consider certain aspects of yourself for growth and to have an understanding, and then to move quickly through the chapters to a way of healing and really looking at our everyday living, how we view healing, how we view our thoughts, and everything related to our well-being and our physical and mental, emotional well-being. So with this chapter, or the download that I got, it was really interesting because the Evolve method talks a little bit about that. And I didn't put so much in that chapter, but just kind of talked somewhat about it. And then the download that I received was so much more to expand on this chapter. Excuse me. So with this download that I got, it is really talking about and having this understanding of that 100% of the population, that 100% of the population has experienced trauma. And what happens when we experience trauma is, at the first and the beginning chapters of the book, I talk about the ego and defense mechanisms. And so when we have trauma, when we experience trauma in some way or some form, the body, usually we're children, and the majority of us, and I'm going to say again, probably 100% of people have experienced trauma in their childhood. So as a child, let me take it back a little bit here and tell you what trauma is, because trauma is an event. Trauma is an event, and it's how we process that event that becomes our trauma. And so when we experience this event, we are going to internally um, process it at an unconscious level, and we are going to create a meaning, a belief. And this belief that will come from our trauma is really an untruth. It's not a truth. It's not a true truth. It is an untruth. And so it's at an unconscious level, and we take on this truth this belief as truth. And so the body, and especially when you're a child and you're experiencing an event that is frightening for you, that is really difficult for the body and for the ego and for the spirit and the soul to really to be in that difficult situation, that the ego takes over, because the ego's job is to keep us safe and to keep us comfortable. So oftentimes, we're leaving our body, our spiritual being, our soul leaves the body. And it's almost like our minds disconnect from that memory, from that event. And I kind of call it, then there's like, it's, we become fragmented because throughout our life we will have more than one event that will cause trauma for us. And so, you know, the memories of that trauma are sometimes pushed under and pushed in, the it's stored in the body for one, and then it's kind of swept under the carpet, so to speak. And what happens is that in our energy center and in the body, I talk about the seven chakras as well. So the chakras being energy centers that run alongside our spine in a straight line. And in that energy center, um, that energy center will surround our organs, different organs that all have a biological function. And so when that energy is held within our body, and depending on where we hold it, so it's held within the body, and that I'm going to tell you a story in a few minutes that hopefully will maybe explain it a little bit better. But so the memory is kind of wiped or put off to the side. Our spiritual soul, our mind wants to sweep that under the rug, and that memory is repressed. And so then, as we grow older, and even as we're growing up, we will have an emotional response to a trigger throughout our lives. To it could be a scent, a smell, it could be a color of something, a location, it could be, someone raising their voice. There's so many different things, but it will be a trigger for us that will trigger an emotional response, and it will be at an unconscious level for the most part, because that memory is repressed. And so you don't really think about it. So, for instance, how that affects your life is, um, you could be a 40-year-old woman or a 40-year-old man, and you have made had a lifetime of making bad choices or poor choices that weren't really for your highest path and purpose. For instance, getting into particular types of relationships, not holding down a job, or not even living in your purpose. Because what happens in the energetic body is that we store energy. And so typically for people, what I've found in talking to hundreds and thousands of people over my lifetime is that the energy will become blocked. For instance, in my for most of my life, I had energy that would have been stuck in the throat chakra, because as a child I saw things, and I could see dead people, and I heard messages, and I knew, had a knowing of, when things were going to happen, and I never spoke that. And that was truly a part of who I was. It's who I am as a psychic medium and a spiritual being. We're all spiritual beings, but just I came with these gifts that I kept quiet until I turned 50. And so what happens is that over the years, that energy, then I have no uh, flow of energy. And in Chinese medicine, we call that qi. And in the ancient science of Ayurveda, in the oldest healing system, which is called Ayurveda, they call it prana. So, and prana is life force. So it's life force energy. And so when you think about your crown chakra being one of the chakras on top, and this energy coming in, if there's a blockage here, there's energy flow here, and then essentially in your body is blocked, and then from your groin down you have this flow of energy, but that's stuck energy, stagnant energy. And over time, It's almost like, well, no, what it is like is that the mind is not connected to the body. There's no energy flow. And when there's that stuck energy, it will manifest over time into a physical ailment, a physical symptom, dis-ease within the body, because again, energy needs to flow freely throughout our body. And so how can we manifest our best life? How can we step into our purpose? How do we speak our truth when we have this energy that's stuck? When we have these triggers within us that trigger an emotional response or a trauma response, and so we can't move that energy and those memories. We don't know. Everything is coming from a place of unconscious. So when we have these triggers, these and triggers and an emotional response, they're driving every decision, every action in our lifetime. And so when you think about that, that means that at an unconscious level, we're going through our life. Every action is from an unconscious place. And okay, so the story that I was going to quickly tell you that hopefully um, might explain things as well, and I'm a storyteller, is that when my son was 6 years of age, he was diagnosed with cancer. And at the time I was a single mom. I had left my marriage and really didn't have even time to deal with the loss of the marriage and the relationship, and to grieve that and kind of ground myself again after, this toxic marriage that I had. And then my son was diagnosed with cancer. And, for when my son and I would sit inside the oncology clinic, the thing that I noticed was that a lot of the parents were very social. They were very social, and we all go through this stress and trauma in very different ways. But for myself, I always felt like I was experiencing this whole experience. Like I was holding on to a rope and just sitting there holding on to it for dear life. It took every ounce of energy that I had to just really hang on. I couldn't, there was no peripheral vision. I could only see this second, literally this second that was right here and now. So, I mean, the wonderful thing that came out of that was I really did learn and experience the power of now, of being in this moment and being very present in this time, because I had no choice, because I could not think beyond this day, because, on this day, you are thankful that your son is going to live this day. And then you get to the next day, and in that moment, again, it's like you're thankful and grateful. Okay, I have my son alive right now, this minute, because in a minute, that could change. And so, really, as the other parents in the clinic are being social and kind of dealing with their trauma by making connections and having the whole community kind of supporting them, I would sit there with my son and we would just be in the clinic, and I'm just, again, holding on. And so bringing my energy really close into my being, just of course to include myself and my son. But it's like there's this energy within you that is just vibrating and growing and growing. But what that energy is doing, it's not like a healthy, vibrant energy. What it is this energy that is experiencing extreme stress, extreme trauma. And so that energy will store it somewhere in the body. And, you know, that really, I mean, you are in every second of every moment of every day. But then, I mean, if you were to ask me right now about any of that, I really don't recall a lot of memory from that time, except really powerful key moments in there that redefined my life. Um, but so that energy then is stored in the body. And, walking. So then years later, my dad passed, and that hospital had closed down, and it was now a place for the grief. There was a grief foundation, a center, a grief support group. And so I had went to the grief support group one night, and then never went back. And the reason why I never went back, and even though I kind of had some idea, you know, a few weeks later or whatever, but at the time I was just like, no, I'm not going back. So walking into this hospital where my son had cancer and was diagnosed and had all of those memories, and where it was trauma for both of us, walking into this building was triggering my trauma and the emotions. It was because of the smell. Just the smell of the building was triggering that trauma response in my body. And, you know, so the trauma response comes up, and I'm feeling the fight, flight, and freeze response, because really I want to get out of there. And I feel sick to my stomach, and I just feel unwell being in there. And so I just decide, yeah, that didn't really work. It's, not helpful. And then, when you really sit with that, you realize and you discover, I see. So really all of that stuff came up. And, in this download, and the process of really examining it, feeling this download and the messages. So with the trauma, and I guess the point of that story was, yes, making the decisions based on the trauma response and those emotional triggers that really at the time are unconscious to us. So we want to be conscious and aware and present of decisions we make in our life. In our life, it's choices. We want to make the best possible choices for us. And so with this download that I received, it really was about going through a process of this visualization and meditation to bring back, to go bring that child back to us, and to really bring back all these fragmented pieces that throughout our lives, we give away. They get taken from us, and a calling back of all of that, and as well bringing that child back, and but merging it with the adult. Because I know some people that have experienced trauma in their childhood, and they're like, elderly, really up there in age. And one particular friend of mine is 70, and there's still trauma from childhood there. And in fact, when going through the course of his life, attributes a lot of the trauma to the ending of the marriage, which was another experience that would have caused trauma for him. But in fact, a lot of it stems back from childhood. And so we carry this through our whole life. And so the manifesto really deals with all of that stuff. So the interesting thing, though, is, so here's this, merge the child, call back, because really these parts are like the shadow parts, the fragmentation of our soul, truly. And when we are in that state and we haven't really looked at incorporating and combining and merging the child with the adult. How do we know what our purpose is? Because we're fragmented. We're not really, we have this blockage of energy from here down. And so the mind and the body are not connected. So we can't possibly manifest our perfect life. We can't manifest health. We don't have perfect health, which is why we see so much disease nowadays and so many illnesses and so many, myalgias and this and that, is because of the disconnection and fragmented self, and the wounded child not being merged with the adult. And so, what a gift that was for me to receive that. I'm just so grateful. Um, I will write that down a bit more and have to process through all of that so that I can bring that out here soon. And also, like I say, to add another chapter in the manifesto in the second edition. But with the Evolve method, so consider what I just said, and then to now go on to the Evolve method is going to be the second thing I'm going to be talking about in my masterclass. Is now with the Evolve method, we are looking at the three energy bodies, what I consider and call the three energy bodies. So now imagine taking newsprint and life size, and you are mapping out now the three energy bodies, and where in those three energy bodies, where we are holding on to the trauma, and where we have these tears and holes within our energy bodies, and what pieces are fragmented, and then being able to really, after that's mapped, being able to put that up on a wall and to be able to really look at that. And when you visually see it, it's very powerful and it's very impactful to be able to go from top to bottom on that mapping and to look at each symptom, each fragmentation, each corrupt code in our energy fields, corrupt codes then in our thinking, and really piece together the timeline for when that began, and to look at that and to begin now to really be aware of it and be present in our bodies to really open up that power of awareness within us to be able to then shrink it and heal it and release it. It is such a powerful, powerful process. I have seen it change lives, and in my own life and in my child's life and in a couple of my friends' lives, where even though it's not like they didn't go through the process, but I had spoken to them about this, but I'd just seen as a bystander watching their lives. One of my friends, I did do a reading for her, and she was in a car accident and had lost her baby and was living with a lot of pain that did make it very difficult for her to get out of bed sometimes, energetically and energy level wise, being able to get up and, have to look after her kids. And of course, we have no choice with that. But seeing that struggle for her and how difficult it was. And I had did a reading for her one day, and the messages that I got and the intuition I picked up on was the minute that she decides that she doesn't want to live this way anymore, the pain will dissipate and just be gone. And that's what happened. And so what really happens, it's not just because she woke up one day and went, oh yeah, I don't want to live like this. But what happens was that there was a shift in her vibration, in her energy, where her mind and her body finally connected. And where then then when that happened, instantly stepped into her purpose, into her true path. And so really started to do a lot of she probably did some education around it, she did readings, she took a course, and went, wow. But it was almost instant. From what I observed was that when her mind and her body were connected, and where this energy then opened up, that everything, that her gifts came flooding in, and she made a decision to step into her purpose, and absolutely is living her dream life right now. And I've seen it happen just that quickly. And for myself as well, when I left my career after my son's successful chemo treatment, and after that year of his treatment, where I quit my career of over 20 years, sold my house, and moved to a tiny town in the mountains, where so much changed for me, so much shifted, and my trauma had been brought up, looked at, and let go of, and released. And really, it's so powerful, and so it's just so exciting to me, and really amazing that all of this happened in the past, week here, with the new moon, or sorry, with the full moon, and this energy of the Lionsgate portal, and with in the season of Leo. Incredible stuff, incredible. um excuse me, I'm gonna cough. I've been doing a lot of talking, I'm losing my voice. But yeah, so fantastic, all of this, just this incredible energy that has been around recently, and I'm loving it, and I hope that all made sense. And um, if you want to join the masterclass that I'll be doing on Tuesday, I'm being totally transparent here. There is a button that I can add to this video, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it. If I can't, I will definitely put the link in the description of this video. And I wanted to pull you guys a card, and I just want to do a general message for all of you wonderful people right now. So I really want to ground my energy here, because as I say, there's just been so much energy flowing through my body, and I've been using my voice a lot. I'm so thankful that you guys have joined me today, and thank you so much. You're all such beautiful, wonderful beings, and I'm just going to take a moment here and ground my energy and pull a card for you to give you all a message today. So for my highest self and the highest path and purpose for all those in this dimension and every dimension, for all times. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, let's get a nice message for you guys. It being this wonderful, energetic time on the planet, I just want to pick a card here for us. Okay, so what is the message? What is the one message that everyone right now could really use to help inspire and empower and move us all forward right now, on our path and our journey here? Okay. Beautiful. So here is the message. This is unconditional love. Isn't that perfect? Unconditional love. And look at the picture. Oh my God, this is almost kind of creeping me out. It is an adult with a baby. An adult with a baby. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Crazy, crazy, right? So, unconditional love, it is just for myself, feeling all of this over the past few days is so powerful just because it is divine timing. All of this stuff is coming in and meant to come in right now. And this is my confirmation. And the message for all of you beautiful people as well is to really love yourself, love. Listen, we all experience traumatic events of different grades in our life. And, you know, some things are horrible, but they've happened when we are a child. They are a product of possibly our parents, someone close to us in our life that were going through their own, you know, their own path, their own situation, probably their own trauma. And the wonderful thing is that you are more than what you believe yourself to be. And you are so powerful. You are way more powerful than you can even imagine. And this card and everything that I've just said and all of this experience for me just is a triple, quadruple message and confirmation that that all of this stuff is just so true, and that it's so powerful, but it's healing. And you don't have to, I don't think that our trauma ever leaves us. I still think that we carry that piece with us. But in this process, we gather up these pieces and we hold it in our heart. It doesn't become a part of our energetic bodies, except for our physical body. So it does become a part, but it's an energy of taking this wounded child and holding it, because you can protect yourself, or you can protect this child. We're adults. We have gone through a life of experiencing our strength and our courage, our light and our dark, and all of it is a part of our being and a part of our power. And you are all such amazing beings. And I so believe in you, and know that you do not have to um, not live your best life. It is your birthright to live with perfect health and abundance. So the unconditional love is to really, really nurture yourself, nurture your soul, bring things into your life that bring you joy and happiness. This is your life right now to live, and you have this one life. Go out and live it to the fullest. And if you would like to, work through your trauma or experiences, as I said, I will put a link on underneath this video, or add a button for you to be able to um, learn more about the masterclass, and to leave the link where you can buy the book, The Manifesto, Harnessing the Power of the Sorceress. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. I hope you have a lovely weekend and a wonderful week. Bye. Bye for now.